one. Hey Daniel, you know how we said it was going to be the last show last week for the year?
I do.
Well, they dropped 14 updates on us, and we thought we'd better address them together before the end of the year. Let's roll it. Good now, right now, whenever you are. This is Darrell as a service for the 365 Message Center show, and joined as always
Hello,
by...
I'm Daniel Glenn. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, 14 updates. Yeah.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas.
yeah, Merry Christmas,
Happy
Happy
holidays.
Hanukkah. Yes, Happy New Year. I think I was really looking forward. I mean, I was thinking about me doing the show by myself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and then you saw this, and you're like, oh,
Yes.
man, 14
No,
updates.
I think it's, as people were headed out the door at Microsoft, they clicked the button of send to Message Center. and here we are with 14 updates. So,
Well, on that, like
yeah.
here in New Zealand, it's summertime, so a lot of people like to
hmm
get away to holidays early-ish.
hmm
Um, most corporate businesses are closed. They closed up on Friday. Is it normal for you guys to work right through to Christmas Eve in the US?
I would say maybe the majority of people have vacation planned around this time, and
Mm,
so businesses are typically open until Christmas Eve time frame. With Christmas being a federal holiday and state
mm,
holiday, and then some get right back at it the day after Christmas.
mm,
So definitely when I was working in the corporate world, I'm in consulting of course now, and
yeah.
I deal with a lot of corporations, and a lot of my clients are done. They've said we're taking this week off, we'll be back, let's start after the new year. So there's a lot of people that have taken off and taken for the holidays, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, and the rest. So,
Yeah. Well, it looks like Microsoft are still busy at it, with 14
mhm.
updates. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's crack into it.
Okay. How
Let's
about I share
take a
my
look.
screen and we take a look at the first one
Yeah, no, yeah, of
together?
course. This is one that I don't have.
Yeah. So this is MC198575. It's Office 365 video to Microsoft Stream migration. This is the
Mm,
retirement date and timelines. We knew about the fact that, and it was announced, I don't know, a couple years back, maybe 3 years, 2.5 years, that Office 365 video would be retired eventually, and that Microsoft Stream service would be taking over. The With this announcement, this is I will say this is not a major update, and I would question that a little bit,
mm,
as because I think maybe because it's been announced previously that it's not a major update. I'm not sure. That's a lot of conjecture there, but it is one that has an action required by February 28th of 2020.
mm,
And the reason why is I'm going to scroll down here a little bit to highlight the summary of key dates. Right now, if you go into Stream, you can actually say, I want to migrate, or I'm sorry, if you go into Office 365 Video, you can click on, hey, I want to go ahead and migrate to Stream as an admin, and it'll actually go ahead and migrate you. But March 1st, 2020, which is 3 months and some change away, well, no, 2 months and some change away, automatic migrations will begin for every organization, whether you want it or not. If you've crossed your fingers and said, I don't want it, I don't want it, um, they're going to automatically migrate you unless you go in and change the setting to say, I don't want to migrate. So you'll go into Office 365 Video, into the settings, and there's a migration tab, and you can change your settings from automatically migrate my content to Stream as soon as possible, which will be the default. There'll be two other options. Don't migrate my content Instead, delete it. Delete all my Office 365 video content once it is retired. And I'll get back to the actual retirement date in a moment. Or the third one will be delay my migration as long as possible. And what does that look like? So March 1st is when they start automatically migrating people who've left that option there, the first option. April 1st of 2020, Office 365 Video iOS app is retired and no longer supported. So it'll be removed from the App Store. March 1st of 2021, this is the important date, Office 365 is retired. So if you chose the second option, which is delete all my content when it's retired, that'll be March 1st of 2021. If you selected the third option, which is please delay me migrating to stream as long as possible, that's your date when you'll be migrated, March 1st, 2021. And then the last date shown on here, March 1st, 2022, is when, if you have any links out there that are pointing to an Office 365 video or embed codes, those will stop redirecting to stream. So when Microsoft does that migration from video to stream, they're going to enable the redirects to happen automatically for you, which is awesome. But March 1st, 2022, they will stop working altogether. The thing, I'd like to make a comment about this, Darrell, before I see what you think. But the biggest thing I want to make sure people understand is if you're using any sort of third-party application, maybe you've purchased it, it's part of your intranet in a box, or you have developed yourself, and you are pointing to Office 365 Video and doing some things via the API. There is no API for stream right now. And
right.
So don't do this migration until you have a plan of what you're going to do. Because there is no API. Now, I said this on Twitter, hey, make sure you're paying attention to this. And I can't remember his title. I think it may be the group program manager, but he is over the stream service and said that they're working on APIs and they will release APIs before Office 365 Video is retired. I will say they've said APIs are coming for stream for a while, maybe 2 years or a year and a half at least. But so the APIs for stream have been coming for a while. So anyway. That's the last thing I'll say about that. That you just pay attention to this if you're using video to make sure that you'll still be able to use it in stream and make changes appropriately.
Yeah, and this is a example, at least, of where we've got plenty of warning, well ahead in advance. You've got that roadmap there of it's slowly being pulled back and retired, what to do, how to delay it. So this is a good example of where a product group is thinking ahead, and they're considering that there are still customers out there that have been heavily using the Office 365 video service because there are APIs for it, and some great products have been able to continue to use that. So yeah, we'll follow the appropriate actions.
That's right. Darrell.
Yes.
Speaking of great products and services, I sorry, but I totally neglected at the start of the show, and I think this is a great time for us to pause right now. And hopefully you're ready to push the button.
Oh, I'm ready to push that button.
But I wanted to make sure that we highlight and thank our show sponsor, Valo Intranet.
All right, thanks again, Velo, for us for that sponsorship and for your
Mm-hmm.
support. It's great to have you on board. So our first, our second message, that last one, I didn't have it in my tenant. Maybe it will come eventually for me too, that same warning.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on up from the bottom of my list, we have a change coming to the Office 365 app launcher. That's in office.com. We have, I think that the changes over the years to this page have been more personalized, have actually helped me to be more productive, especially with listing documents and things that I've been working on or pinned, things that have been shared with me. But what the focus is on now is around trying to personalize the apps themselves. I can pin apps in my own right to the app launcher. Now we're giving the ability for our admins to pin apps to the app launcher on our behalf, up to 3 apps. And in our case, like at my organization, we do have a common time sheeting and billing and system where we put our time in. So that seems like a logical thing that everyone in our consulting gig should have pinned to that app launcher. The other thing that we'll see there is if you are using apps frequently, then they're going to be suggested or dropped into that list of apps. I do have a clip here from, or at least the video from Ignite, which does give us a clue there to other things that are going to happen to this page. There'll be some personalization, your logo, different background, a different place for create something new, and recommendations as well. Go into it a bit later on in the video, and you'll see some more hints around what you can do as an admin for configuring these things and pinning the 3 apps as well. It's all done via the Azure Enterprise Apps module there. So good to see that. Good to see that. And
and that's message MC198313.
Thank you, Daniel. I continue to forget that, don't I?
That's
it's another good message where we actually
like
have
this.
notes for end users.
Yes, that I like the notes for end users, and for those that are responsible for changing your organization, you can take these notes and copy paste if you want to, or change them around to communicate what's going to happen to the tenant. I really like the other aspect to this as well is the syncing is going to happen between the app launcher and the Office landing page, the office.com. So syncing those applications so that the ones that will be shown to you because you frequently use them, they will be synced. So it's, you're going to have that familiar interface, so that I know where that app is.
And it is about trying to personalize and make it familiar for people. All of these little things all do help with user adoption. Keeping on moving, the Outlook on the web mobile browser experience is getting some changes there. This is when maybe you don't have the Outlook mobile app installed on your phone, so you go to a web browser and that's how you engage with your mailbox, is by going to a web browser on your mobile. I see your face there. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't do that either. No.
Yeah, who does this? I don't know who goes and checks their email via browser on their mobile device. Why don't you just install the Outlook app I don't know. I mean, some people may. I get it. I don't, and I don't know anybody else that does. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. This is MC198328. It is just the mobile experience. Now, I will say the look of it and of this new experience is great, and it's bringing it in line with the new Outlook experience online. So it's great. It's just I've honestly never thought about doing it because I have Outlook on my iOS device, and I read my email that way. But
I think the main thing is that it has been consistent, bringing it to that same look and feel that we see in the web browser. So potentially, but maybe it's about unification of that same code base where they were running on classic
Yeah.
Outlook on the web for the mobile browser. So you can turn that on and check it
You
out.
can.
It is gradually rolling out mid-December, so like last week.
Yeah, as
Which
announced on December 17th,
yes,
as this published date of this, it will be rolling out mid-December.
yeah,
Yeah.
mid-ish. I like to call it mid-ish because
Hmm.
even if they announced it 17th of December, that's mid-ish because it's 2 days after the almost the midpoint.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Okay, Darrell.
and completed by the end of January 2020. So,
Yeah.
if that's an important way that you engage with Outlook, then crack on into it and enjoy. You've got FindTime, some changes happening here, and this is considered a major update. So it
Hmm.
is an announcement, but a major update. Interesting discussion this week about what is considered a major update and not, and whether or not we
Hmm.
should be receiving emails for that. I tend to agree. Sometimes we see, and you and I have said this before, we see major
Many
updates
times. Many
sometimes
times.
are more about marketing than they are about awareness and helping you prepare for change. This one is a stay informed update. That's 198.325, and it's going to be significant for organizations that are really concerned about their data residency.
Hmm.
Where is FineTime data today, Daniel?
I don't know. It's in the U.S. I guarantee you that. Well, actually, now that I say that, I don't know. And because some people have told me, alluded to me that it may be in an Asian country.
Hmm.
So I'm not entirely sure. However, we know where it'll be after this update.
Right.
Because with this update, it's updated feature FineTime updating backend service. So they're updating it to where if you are using a supported version of Outlook, your FineTime polling data. So when you create a FineTime, you create and you pick time slots and you send this email and everybody who receives that email votes when they're going to be available for your meeting.
So useful.
And it is very useful. So you don't have this back and forth. Are you available for this time? No, I'm not, but I'm available for this time. But I'm, you back and forth. So you send this out. So that data, all of that data about voting and what's happening will be held in your mailbox, in your Exchange mailbox.
If you're the meeting organizer.
Right. For users that are not using a supported version of Outlook, then the FineTime polling data will be held in North America. So it says North America server, which I found very interesting because is it really North America or is it the United States? I really don't know there. That was interesting phrasing. So maybe Canada is involved in there as well. But the version, it'll be Outlook on the web. So if you're using Outlook on the web, which is always updated, you're fine. Outlook for Windows, which is what we'd call a desktop app, right? Outlook for Windows 2016 and has a version 2016 07828 100. And then Outlook for Mac 2016. So if you're using one of those or higher, then you're fully supported, and those meeting invites and the responses and the polling data will be held in your mailbox.
I find that one interesting too around the desktop versions, whether it be Windows or Mac, that it's dependent on that because on the back end, it's still Exchange Online. It's still the mailbox where it's been stored. So if you are doing that polling, or rather creating that meeting poll from a Outlook client, there must be some front end stuff that happens. Yeah.
Yes. And so I did want to make a comment, Darrell, about the whole idea of this being a major update and it being, people receiving major update emails. The thing about this is, and we've talked about this on the show, we talked about this with Mike Ziok, who is over the Message Center, but also the Roadmap and the Health Center, is that Microsoft thinks this is a major update. Do you? Well, you may not. You may or may not. They don't know. They think it's an update. And, frankly, this is their service. And so they're saying it's a major updating and sending it out. So while if you don't think it's a major update, I'm sorry, but they do,
Yep.
and that's kind of what we get stuck with.
Yep. Well, at least it's a more practical one, and for those who want to prepare for this, then they're going to make sure that Outlook is up to date on the desktops to take
Hmm.
advantage of the new data residency
Hmm.
changes at the back end.
Right.
Yeah. Another one for Outlook on the web, and this is, I almost feel like it's a a callback from Outlook groups when more of us were using this. So this is Outlook on the web files view, and it's message MC198342. When we had we still have Outlook groups for some who still use it.
Hmm.
There is this ability to go in and see files that have been attached to
Hmm.
conversations in the shared mailbox. It's
Hmm.
effectively a filter. And that was our first experience of working with files in an Outlook group for Outlook on the web. And now we're able to, as our own mailbox, go in and see a files view of any attachments and files that we have been discussing via email in a
Yes.
mailbox.
This is really nice.
Yeah.
It's giving you the ability to see all the emails that you've sent or received that had a file. It's just a view of those in a way that, hey, I'm looking for a file. I
Mm.
can't tell you how many times I do a search. Probably half the time I do a search for email, I have to include the has a attachment because that's really what I'm looking for is an
Yeah.
email with an attachment. And maybe I didn't handle that file correctly. I didn't save it to OneDrive or whatever. I just don't have it. I don't know where it is. I'm looking for an attachment, like I said, probably half the time I'm doing a search. So this is great
Mm.
to be able to go in, see all the files, who it came from, if it was sent to me, and to be able to get to that file that's attached to that email, right?
Mm.
So just it's just a quick way of doing it, and I really like that. There was in the additional information, I think there was a some info. It's one of those blog posts that has a bunch of stuff that's coming,
Yep.
and one of the things it said was, hint, use favorites, so favorite people, so that you can actually use this filter in a little better way, to highlight, those people that you often get documents from or you interact with. So,
Right, because and let's just grab the image copy for this just very quickly
okay.
and push it over to here. I know it's a
Mm,
bit blurry in this, but
mm,
there is this breakdown here of all files or people or based on folder. If you have gone ahead and organized things already, then that's one way to retrieve it. But if you expand people, then that would be where you'd see your favorites
mm-hmm.
under there.
Yeah.
Um, I've actually seen this and used it quite a bit from the mobile experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because Outlook was another product beforehand on iOS, it
Mm-hmm.
had that native way of being able to look up the files that you might have been discussing in email. So it's nice to
Not
see it come
anymore.
through Outlook on the web.
That's right.
Okay, we have. Well, in one breath, we were saying you must have Outlook 2016 for Mac to support this great new feature for FineTime. But they are beginning to tell us, if you're a Mac user, that Office 2016 for Mac will end mainstream support in.
October
Well,
13th, 2020.
really, is that soon? Wow.
Yeah. So this is MC198427. Yeah, October 13th, 2020. You'll
Hmm.
no longer receive security updates or bug fixes for Office 2016 for Mac.
Yep.
So they recommend you upgrade to Office 365.
Yes.
Just
Yep. Always up to date, always
yep.
supported by the service, and
Right.
we know that they've been saying similar things about Office 2016 for desktop. So
Hmm.
plan for that. Moving up,
Moving
we've
right
got
along.
yeah Teams
Teams
meeting
meeting
policies.
policies. Yep. MC198471. So this was, and this is a little interesting, Darrell, I think, for the way they're updating the way they're going to handle that switch for you to say, because there's that switch, right, that says, I don't want to allow video in meetings.
Mm-hmm.
right? So they're changing that. They're gradually rolling this out in March of 2020, completing it in June.
That's quite a
What do you
warning, isn't it?
this is a great warning. I wish
Yeah.
every product group gave us this warning. Anyway, so they're adding actually an audio mode control as well, because before it was all encompassing, I guess. So being able to get granular with the audio, right?
Yeah. And is it that at administrative level they're wanting to control whether people can receive video and audio?
Hmm.
Yeah. So in a
I
meeting,
think,
you can turn
yeah.
off your video, and I guess in
So,
some scenarios, maybe from a network perspective and capacity, that there is a need to turn video off for most people.
yeah, I think there might be a need for that. I'm not, there might be some sensitive areas where they don't want video. Maybe you do work with sensitive peoples,
Hmm.
and you don't want the opportunity to see, so just go ahead and turn it off. The audio is an interesting one as well, and I actually have a client, it doesn't make me happy, but I have a client that they've had so much trouble with people not understanding the hardware that
Hmm.
they've actually turned off audio via web meetings, and people have to dial in. They've turned it off completely
Wow.
because they just got tired of people not understanding their computer microphone was what was being used, or
Hmm.
they'd have a headset and they'd plug it in and it wouldn't work, and it was the computer, and they just had so many that they just said, forget it, we're going to turn it off. And so this is a way that you could turn off audio, but also just allow video, but turn
Hmm.
off audio. And then, if you had a policy like that.
Yeah.
So
If
anyway.
you're an org that has some of these settings in place already, you're taking advantage of that. They're not going to go ahead and change those settings. They'll respect
Mhm.
those, but going forward,
Right.
you'll have some changes to how that policy works. All right, let's keep it moving along because there is quite a few.
Hmm.
The new feature for custom search results pages for SharePoint sites, which is MC198472.
Hmm.
We're going to see something that maybe feels familiar already, a custom search page for search results for SharePoint sites.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, what do you think, Daniel? I mean, it's a page that we can say, I want, when I search for something in this new search bar at the top of our applications and our things, when
Hmm.
we see that same bar in SharePoint, now we can go up there, and when we search, we don't get the standard SharePoint search results page, but we can change it up a bit and highlight some content and customize that landing page.
Hmm.
But have we been able to do this before?
Well, for the second part of it, being able to point to a custom page, we've been able to say for a SharePoint site, I want to specify when I'm doing a search that all my results will be going to this separate page, and you can
Hmm.
customize that page as a search with search web parts. I think mostly this is about those web parts and being able to add additional ones from the patterns and practices community, as well as any that you've developed through the SharePoint framework.
Right.
The additional information here, I think, will be key. So if you're really wanting to find out more information about this one, there's a link to a Microsoft Ignite session. It's SRCH50, and it was Nicholas and Mikkel and Kareem, and there's quite a few of them
There you go. I got it
that
up on
did
page.
this. Oh, there we go. That did this session. It's 45 minutes. If this tickles your fancy, then definitely watch this video and learn more. It covers this, but also other stuff too. So definitely watch that video. And this is the framework, or I'm sorry, the timeline is early January 2020, completed end of February.
All right, and if you have those extra needs for customizing search results, that's certainly something you'll be looking into.
Mm-hmm.
We have an updated feature for image resizing in modern SharePoint experience. This is MC 198528, and it's a prevent or fix issue. So it has been here, maybe rolling out partially. Is it? Have you seen this
No,
feature?
no. I
Hmm.
think this is miscategorized, to be honest.
Yeah.
This is the ability so it's gradually rolling out early January to targeted release, and then beginning February, or the rollout will be completed by February 2020. And this is the ability for you've added an image to be able to, on the page, resize that image
Hmm.
on a SharePoint page, which is amazing. Now, some people go, wow, that's been around for a while for other technologies, maybe, but we haven't had it in SharePoint.
Hmm.
So being able to do this is nice so that I don't have to say, well, I'm going to add an image, but I've got to resize it beforehand, right, to make it the right size and
It's
then
not a
upload it.
step
And
that your average person will think of.
no,
So this is another thing, and it might have been in other technologies earlier, but it's another thing that makes the modern SharePoint experience so much more friendlier for
hmm
regular people to create content. They don't have to resize an image beforehand, like some of us think that way. Hmm.
well, and that's if you have control. You might not even have control of the if you're bringing this image in from online,
Right.
then you may not even have control over the size. So being able to resize it is fantastic. What do you need to do to prepare for this change? Nothing.
Just point it out. It's
Point it
something
out.
that you might want to take advantage of when it appears. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of things like that. They
Mhm.
don't massively change your current workflow, but they could.
Oh,
They
they
could
could.
really impact the way that you create content.
hmm
Let's have a look at the next one, which I was quite excited about from
hmm
the perspective of loading up content, updating your pages. You're trying to refresh content. Maybe you're co-authoring it with someone, and you want to see what changes have been made. And oh, oops, someone's changed something. What was it? New feature: SharePoint Page Difference Visualization, MC198535. Much like we can go into Word, for example, and take a look at the versions that we have of documents, we can now, or we will be able to, go in and see the version of the page, most recent version, and then also see what has currently changed. And I really like this. I can see this in the image that it's highlighting it, giving it a color code or a color key saying this change is what happened. Someone changed this web part. They made some changes there. That's what you need to go in and have a look at and determine whether or not you want to keep that change or roll it back to the previous version of that page.
This
Um,
really reminds me of a
mm,
feature that we used to really utilize a lot in SharePoint. Do you know what feature? This actually has been in SharePoint before, but on a specific feature.
oh, no, I don't know.
Wiki pages. So wiki pages
Oh.
had this capability for you to see the versions of the page, and when you clicked on a previous version, it would highlight what's changed. Now, I will say it was terrible. In my experience, if you had deleted stuff and added stuff over top of where you deleted it had no way of really highlighting, hey, this is, and so it wasn't great, but it did
Mm,
do an okay job at it. So when I saw this, that was the first thing I thought, hey, this is kind of like what we used to have in wiki pages. But so this is fantastic to be able, like you said, be able to see what's changed, be able to look at other versions, delete older versions, restore those versions in this new version pane
mm.
that we're going to have for these files. For the pages. I'm really excited about this as a content creator and editor. I think people will really enjoy this.
Yeah, yeah. Co-authoring this content. Not currently, uh, concurrently co-authoring yet. That's something I'm really hanging
Right.
out for. To be
Right.
able to
Yes.
concurrently edit a page. But
Mm-hmm.
for now, at least we're getting some more visibility of what's changed.
That's right.
So that is rolling out, gradually rolling out late December, now-ish,
Yeah.
to targeted release customers, and should be complete by beginning of January 2020.
So soon.
Yeah, and I've got a
Very soon.
customer or two that they're creating content frantically at the moment, so this is going to be useful to them.
Great.
Global reader role in new SharePoint Admin Center. New feature. MC198602. We've seen a global reader role for a couple of other services. This is a safe way of allowing people to see what has been set up in your admin center without giving them the permission to actually change stuff. Quite useful for people who might want to be in there advising you about what to do, but not necessarily having the keys to the house to do it.
Right. Yeah, this is, you need to be using the new SharePoint Admin Center for this to work. But being able to, just like you said, you don't have to give a global admin role to someone so that they can go in and be able to see SharePoint Admin Center. They've had to before because the global reader role did not apply to the SharePoint Admin Center, but now it will. So targeted releases mid-February 2020, so we're getting some good notice here. Also, for you GCC people, we have part of this will be rolling out, or part of this announcement is that it'll be gradually rolling out in production and GCC at the same time in early March 2020.
Nice.
So that's really nice. But like you said, and really I like the recommendation on this is give reader role and then give a different role based upon if they need to edit. So if they need to edit something in Exchange, give them global reader. If they need to be able to read stuff but then change stuff in Exchange, then give them that role. Don't give them global because they need to do something in Exchange. Love it. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, more granular permissions to be able to get to see and work with content. We have Power BI retiring TLS 1.0 and 1.1 support June 2020, and this is in the same vein as another couple of TLS changes earlier in the year. This one is a plan for change, MC198605. So there is some action required for you to make your changes by the 31st of May.
Yeah, and really this is so this is a major update, and some people might not think this really is a major update or apply to them that way. Did you say what the number was? I wasn't paying attention to you at all. Anyway, no. The reason why I was paying attention, but what I was doing, I was actually looking up the information about why you need to be paying attention. So what this really is about browsers and operating systems that don't support 1.2, TLS 1.2, and specifically that's Android 4.3 or earlier versions. And let's do OSs. So I guess it's just Android, and then Windows 7 and earlier versions, that Internet Explorer 8 through 10, Firefox version 5.0 or earlier versions don't support it. Windows Phone 8, all those people using Windows Phone 8 out there, there's probably 5, and they all work for Microsoft.
I can't work with Power BI from Windows Phone.
So if you're using Internet Explorer 10 on that Windows Phone 8 device, you won't be able to.
Right.
And then Safari 604 on OS X 10.8.4 and earlier versions won't be able to use it either. So just wanted to let you know that's what it means by operating systems and browsers that won't be able to use 1.2.
Man. There's a fair few projects that we see where there's still old browsers that are having to be used to support systems that are still being used, and it's an ongoing problem for poor organizations having to face this.
Yeah, and I've actually ran into one recently, is Windows 7 and Internet Explorer 10, and that's one of these. So if you're using Power BI on Windows 7, Internet Explorer 10, then you're in trouble with this update. So the timeline here is beginning June 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So before then, you're going to need to address if you're using Power BI and that's how you're accessing it, then you're going to need to change it up.
Yep.
Figure out the option.
We've got this. It's felt like a familiar message. It felt like we read this 2 weeks ago, but there is a change to the experience. The design update handling repeated phishers in Microsoft Forms, MC198615. It is a different message ID for starters. But what we've seen earlier was this was about trying to reduce the ability for people to use Microsoft Forms for phishing and getting personally identifiable details, and that it would capture this person and quarantine them if they I think it was up to 2 times they get like a
it's 2 or more. Yeah,
two
if
or
you
more.
do it if you do it twice or more,
Yep.
which I don't know how you do it more if you've done it twice, but anyway,
Yeah.
if you do it twice or more, then you become a restricted user.
Yeah.
And the reason why this is and I'm not sure why this is a new update, but the reason why they've updated this is to say, and they've created this new Microsoft Forms restricted users page. So you're not having to go somewhere else. You stay in Microsoft Forms administration area, and then in that area you'll be able to see the restricted users and then take action.
Makes sense
on those users. Yep,
right in the context of where you're administering forms. Here are the people that have been quarantined. Go and see their managers.
That's right.
And then take it from there.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Yep, but that's a good update. Good to see that perhaps between when they announced it earlier, here's what we're going to do, and this one, they may have got some feedback to say, oops, we probably should make this a bit easier for people to manage these exceptions.
Or maybe they were already working on it and hadn't really gotten it. They made some major headway and got it, out. So,
yep.
But anyway, it'll be late December 2019, which is nowish, completed in early January. So soon.
Right. Here's an interesting feature, particularly around collaboration on content and documents, to be more exact. We've got lots of different ways to have conversations about our documents. Thinking now we've got Teams where we can have a conversation alongside it. But this is about conversations inside the document. The old feature that we've been able to use for some time, adding comments. And we can @mention people now. That's nice. They get an email notification. Hey, Daniel, can you have a look at this figure for me in this spreadsheet, please? I just want to make sure that it's right. MC198554 is going to give us a different experience, that when you receive that email from the service saying Darrell's @mentioned you in this spreadsheet, you're gonna see something different. You can interact with it differently. So what is that?
It is just as you described. This announcement: email notifications for comments and @mentions in Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. When you do that @mentioning me, and you say Darrell, you say Daniel, please take a look at this. I want you to make sure that this number is right. If you do that now, I just get an email saying you mentioned me. So I have to click on it, open up the document, and view what you're mentioning me about. This will, as it's rolling out mid-January, starting mid-January 2020, it will actually add context in the email. It'll try to tell you what's before and after of what's being mentioned to kind of give you some context to understand it. Is it something that I can answer you straight away via email? I can just say, or Teams, I can just say, yes, that's correct. Or I don't need to, maybe it's you mentioned to me just to say, hey, I just want you to be aware of this. I don't need to do anything. I just read it right there in my email and I move on. So I would think that this is going to be a great benefit for those that use this @mentioning a lot.
Yep.
The key here, I think, is let's not put too much confidence in this just yet. I think, because the way we work differently, right, Darrell? All of us, we do things differently, and let's not put too much confidence that this is going to work 100% of the time the way we want it to.
Mm.
I think this is good that they're doing it. I'm just hopeful that, it gets 80 or 90% of it correct and shows us what we need to know. Any improvement in this area, in my mind, is good. To be able to show me context so I don't have to, drill down into the document. But there is some restrictions on the versions for this to be capable, right?
Yeah. Well, that's they have to call out what versions are supported, and I'll say it again. It's good if you can get yourself onto the Office Pro Plus or Office 365 version of Office, because it is always kept up to date. But there's a list of restrictions. Sorry.
The key though is even if you're using the Office 365 Pro Plus or whatever you want to call it, even if you're using that, this will only work for Excel, for the Windows.
Oh.
For Word and PowerPoint, it does not work for the desktop app. It'll only work for the mobile and web versions for now.
Wow.
They're going to, the plan is they'll add support later in 2020, but right now it's only Excel, the desktop app.
How interesting is that? That it's more functional on a mobile app. Because what I'm looking forward to is highlighting something in a Word document, and when I'm sending it to someone, that can jump them immediately to that position in the document. They can check the content, they can have that discussion with me. It's all time-saving stuff, but at the moment it's web and mobile.
So you can do it in web right now. I mean, when they start rolling this out, to be able to get that email with the context, you can still do it in the web.
Oh, yeah.
But that's less functional than if it worked for desktop. But they are saying they're going to do that. And Darrell, I wanted to highlight how does this affect me? They use the word may a couple times, saying you may receive an email. And I'm like, what do you mean may? Is this meaning if it feels like it, if the service is working at that point, you may get one? But no, it really is that there's some times when you won't get an email, or it won't insert that information in there for you, right? It's not going to do that.
Well, it's mostly around those emails that have like rights protection, data loss prevention. So taking more security on the content of that email, then the service can't get in there and inject this additional stuff to help us respond to the content. So let's say that the data rights management was across that spreadsheet that we're working on earlier. Then the email service isn't necessarily going to be able to get in there and inject that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not going to show you the context. It's just going to say, hey, you were mentioned.
Yep, that's right.
And you could turn it off. You could turn this feature off. I don't know why you would want to, but you can. But when you do, it's a tenant-wide setting. There is no per user. It's tenant-wide. So if you turn it off, you're turning it off for everybody.
Well, finishing our much longer episode than usual. Merry Christmas special.
That's right.
Happy holiday special. We have a new feature for Outlook on the web. It is the room card, our room resources. All right, that's MC198678. So everything's becoming cards now. Much easier to digest this information. Hover over a link, it's a card. Hover over a person, it's a card. Hover over a resource, such as a meeting room, it is a card.
Check out that card, though, Darrell.
Yeah, there's a lot of info in there.
It's a lot of information, but it's useful.
Yeah, especially the coffee machine hint.
That's right. So it's interesting that they have nice little icons for a projector and a video and audio and all that, and accessible. But if you keep scrolling, this map is very interesting, and I would like to see some use cases that people are using this for, to have maps of their facilities and how they're going to be able to get to and fro between. I think that's really nice for people who, and even in this screenshot, I don't know all the things you have to do to enable this, but it tells them, hey, it's a 2-minute walk to this conference room. How do they know that? It's going to be interesting to see how people use this and utilize this. But this card, being
Hmm.
able to, at one glance, be able to see what does this conference room have for me. So I need a meeting for 12 people. I hover over this and it says 10 people. Well, if I book this room, I know it's going to be tight, right?
Hmm.
And there's people going to be standing. Just stuff like that. Does it have a projector? Does it yada yada? Yada.
Yeah.
I actually did a solution like this for a client way back in the day, but we actually used SharePoint list because there was no way that they could feasibly use this. They actually used a SharePoint list and resources in SharePoint
Mm.
to create on a calendar. You can create resources,
Yeah.
and in SharePoint Classic, you could say, I'm going to create a meeting and I want to for this resource, and it would have information about that meeting room. It's nice to see this
Yeah.
because I know a lot of organizations will use it.
Yeah, yeah, especially the room features, because we've had capacity for the room for some time
Hmm.
in
Right.
Exchange or Active Directory. But yeah, those additional resources have really been either coded into the way that you name the resource
Hmm.
or dropped
Hmm.
into additional information. But yeah, particularly interested in this maps thing, because if I think about that, let me just quickly change this over to here. So my full screen will go into Windows 10 and just type maps, because that's what it's referring to, surely. Drag over our maps app, and it's going to be this somehow, somewhere. Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how it's going to know where if you look at that map on this announcement, I really
Mm.
don't know how it's going to know where. I'm guessing it's just going to be where if you probably have to have location services turned on
Yeah.
your machine, and how are you going to add your map of your rooms? I don't know, but I think it's pretty interesting.
Guess what? This is
What?
that old thing with it's a UWP app. It's not coming through on the
Hmm.
shared screen because it's
Nice.
yeah. Anyway,
Wah wah
let's
wah.
just wah wah. The maps thing of Windows 10. That's what it will potentially bring on through.
It'll be
Might tell
interesting.
you how far it is from 33, and you're in 30 EF, 3 EF.
Three
It is a
EF, yeah.
10-second walk. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, that
Daryl,
is.
I've finished my water, so I think our episode's done.
I'll let you, of course. Is this the last episode for the year? Surely it
Sure,
is.
surely.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, maybe.
We'll see. I might
I
do
know
one next week. Who
you
knows?
maybe. Here's hoping that a bunch of people don't flick the switch and push a whole lot of stuff out. But yeah, have a great happy holidays. Be safe wherever you are. We look forward to having you along again next year. And again, thank you to our sponsor Valo for your support. And thank you to all of you for support, for the feedback, the comments, the engagement that we've had on the show. Listening to our podcast too, that's been published over the last couple of months. And yeah, just continue to give us feedback and tell us what you would like to know and what you'd like to dive in deeper on in the Message Center. And keeping up with change, preparing your people to plan for change, prevent or fix, and stay informed. Happy holidays. Bye for now.
Bye bye.